Welcome, fellow adventurers, to our word quest. Today, we are going to conquer a dragon that every single English learner has to face. That moment your mind just goes totally blank right in the middle of a sentence. So let's get started. You know that feeling, right? You're chatting away, you're feeling pretty confident, and then boom, nothing. It's that awful, frustrating feeling like the word you need is locked away in a vault and your whole conversation just grinds to a halt. So, what's the plan? Do you just stumble and let the conversation die? Absolutely not. On this quest, we're going to learn some really powerful strategies. And yeah, even a little bit of linguistic magic to keep your conversations flowing smoothly. So this whole experience, it actually has a name, WordBLACK. And listen, the most important thing to remember is that this happens to everyone. It happens when you're learning a new language, for sure, but it even happens to native speakers when they feel a little, well, rusty. You are so not alone on this quest. So I want you to think of this explainer as your own personal adventurer's pack. We're not just going to sit here and talk about the problem. No way. We are filling this pack with real, practical tools you can whip out anytime you run into that conversational monster. All right, let's kick things off with a tool that might actually surprise you. We're talking about words that aren't technically real words, but you hear them used all the time in informal English. They're called placeholder names. And trust me, for casual conversations, these are going to be your secret weapon. The idea here is super simple. Instead of just stopping dead in your tracks, you pop in one of these placeholder words. What this does is it signals what you mean to the person you're talking to. And you know what? A lot of the time, they'll just give you the word you were looking for. It's a brilliant little conversational shortcut. Okay, first up, we've got the thing words. You know, like thingy, thingamajig, or thingamabob. So if you say something like, "The doctor gave me a thingy for my stress," everybody knows you're talking about some kind of object, right? It's a perfect stand-in. Then you've got your what words. You could totally ask a friend, "Hey, did you pick up a whatchamacallit at the shop?" Now, whatchamacallit is usually for objects, but a word like what's its name, that one's a bit more flexible. You can use it for people or things. And these placeholders can get really specific. What's his name and what's her name are super common. But you might also hear something really informal, like what's his face? Now, I know it can sound a little rude at first, but honestly, in some families, it's a totally normal way to talk about someone when their name just, poof, disappears from your brain. And this is where it gets kind of creative, you know? The language can really change from one family to the next. You might hear someone say, "Oh, doodad got engaged," talking about a person, or, "Hey, pass me one of those doodads," for an object. It's just a really fun reminder of how playful and flexible informal language can be. Okay, so this placeholder magic is awesome for informal chats, but what about other situations? Well, the next tool we're pulling out of our pack is the art of description. Think of these as your Pathfinder skills for getting around any missing word. But before we dive into the specific tactics, let's talk about something really foundational. The best adventurers, they train every single day. Consistent practice is what keeps your language skills sharp and stops you from feeling rusty. It's like preparing your mind for the quest you know is coming. Okay, but what happens when you're right there, in the moment, and a word just vanishes? Here's a super powerful 3-step technique you can use. This is your core strategy. You can simplify it, you can explain what it's used for, or you can compare it to something else that's familiar. Let's break that down. First up, simplify it. Look, don't get stuck trying to find that one perfect, complex word. Can't remember pediatrician? Just say a doctor for children. Can't think of puppy? Baby dog works perfectly. Remember, the goal here is communication, not perfection. And this one simple shift keeps the whole conversation flowing. All right, so what if simplifying isn't quite enough? Well, step 2 is to explain what the thing is used for. So if you've totally blanked on pencil sharpener, you can just say, "Hey, can you pass me that thing, that's used for making pencils pointed?" It's crystal clear, and the person you're talking to knows exactly what you mean. And finally, step 3, use comparisons. This is where you compare the thing you can't name to something that's well known. So if the word jumpsuit just isn't coming to you, you could say, well, it's kind of like a dress, but it has trousers. See, that creates a really strong mental picture for your listener. Okay, now this next part is huge. This is where we're going to completely reframe this whole challenge. Getting stuck on a word, it doesn't have to feel like a failure. Not at all. In fact, it can be the complete opposite. It's an opportunity to turn what feels like a solo struggle into a team win. This is probably the most important rule of the whole quest. The person you're talking to isn't a judge. They're your teammate. When you use these descriptive tricks, what you're really doing is giving them clues to help you find the treasure, which is, the word you're searching for. Think about it like this. Every single time you get stuck, it's not a mistake. It's an open invitation. You're literally inviting your partner to jump in, to get more involved, to help you solve this little puzzle together. And honestly, this can build a stronger connection and make the whole conversation way more interactive and fun. And you know what? You can be totally direct about it. Right at the start of a conversation, just say something like, "Hey, just so you know, if I use the wrong word or get stuck, feel free to correct me." This gives them permission to jump in and help. And when you can laugh at your own mistakes, that makes everyone feel so much more comfortable. It just turns the whole thing into a friendly, supportive chat. So, let's wrap up our quest with one final thought. What if the ultimate prize isn't having a perfect, flawless vocabulary? What if true fluency is really about having the confidence and the tools to navigate any conversation, to really connect with people, and to keep that dialogue going even when you don't have the perfect word? What do you think about that?